Well, thank you very much, and welcome to Where Are They Now? And as we've been previewing for the last couple of hours, now I shouldn't say old-time Oklahoma State fans because we're not going back that far, but Dennis Burbank, one of the better pitchers we've had come through here, and that's saying a lot since we've had a lot of good arms come through Oklahoma State. But Dennis, we're going to get into it right off the bat, and I told you, kind of a small world, isn't it, that we've played regular season in the desert several times, but this is the first time we've gone to the desert in the state of Arizona postseason since 1990, which is amazing in itself. And the first team out of the gate in 1990, we swept that series to go to Omaha, was UC Santa Barbara, and guess who took the mound against Santa Barbara?
He was a good pitcher, whoever it was.
Yeah, he did a good job. We won. So since we're talking to him, what do you remember about that, man?
You know what? It's funny, Tom. I think we were the number 2 seed back then too. I think Arizona State was the number 1 seed. So not only are they going to Arizona, but the Arizona is going to be the number 1 seed. OSU's number 2 seed. That is really ironic that 31 years later, they're in the same spot. I hope they make a run to Omaha again. What do I remember? I remember Santa Barbara had a kid that led the country in stolen bases, and we talked about it at length that not to let this kid get on base. And I don't remember what he did his first at bat, but he got on base. Either I walked him, or he got a base hit, or he got on in an error. And I thought, God, we just talked about that. We don't want Roundtree on first base. And I threw about 2 pickoff moves to first base. We picked him off on first, and the rest of the game was downhill from there. We kept him off base, and we ended up going 9 innings, winning the first one, and kind of setting the tone.
Isn't it crazy how the world does come back around, and it is a small world, obviously. And now, it was in Tempe in 90, and now we're in Tucson this time around. So there's the difference. It was Arizona State, as you mentioned. It's Arizona this time around. But at the same time, time just kind of marches on, then you turn right back around, and we're doing kind of the same thing. A little different then, though. If you win 4, you go to Omaha. Actually, win 4. No super regional back then. You're going to have to work a little harder in this day and age.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to know. I mean, you're always counting on, throwing a complete game. The first game against Santa Barbara really was a benefit for us because, the other 12 or 13 guys that we're going to throw were going to be completely rested. It would be interesting to see how we position the staff today, that, the staff we had then, knowing that we've got to play more games and a bigger series and a longer series. I'd love the challenge, but it would definitely be a different lineup.
And back in those days, and we had the 6-team regionals, which were really tough to negotiate. Even if you stayed in the winner's bracket, it was tough to negotiate, much less falling into the loser's bracket and having to win 2 or 3 extra games. So times have changed, and I don't know what's more difficult, going head-to-head in a super regional. I guess some people would say that is. But nonetheless, whatever it is, you're going to have good arms to get you through a regional and a super before you get to Omaha.
Yeah, there's no doubt. It's I've been on both ends of the stick of the winner's bracket and the loser's bracket. When I went to Pepperdine, we got sent out to Arizona State my freshman year, and again we swept through the regional until the final, and Arizona State had to beat us twice on the last day, and they did. So I've got the feeling of sweeping through the Tempe regional and then also getting taken on the last day in the Tempe regional.
You didn't spend a whole lot of time here. You certainly made your mark while you were here. You got some crucial starts for us. We talked about the first game there at Tempe in 1990 to send us on our way. You got a chance. You got 2 starts in the College World Series, as memory serves me, didn't it? Early and then late, right?
Yeah, I started the first game we played against Cal State Fullerton.
Right,
we beat them, and then I threw the national title game against Georgia.
And that is such a painful game to recollect for a lot of us. It was right there for the taking. It was there for them too, as a matter of fact. And it was a 1-game deal. I've heard that forever and ever. Why did they change it? But they did it. College baseball thought they were taking a better run at it and not just settling for 1 game. Later on and 1 loss, no losses. Hey, we beat that one a long time, but it was a difficult game to have to swallow.
Yeah, it definitely was. I think I've probably told you the story. I say it all the time. If God himself would have come into my hotel room the night before and said, "Hey, Dennis, you're going to give up 1 run tomorrow. Do you want to bet your life that you guys win the national championship?" I'd have taken that bet in a heartbeat.
Mm-hmm.
I had no doubt that if I throw a good game, we're going to score 10, 12 runs, and we're going to beat somebody up. In fact, we were kind of looking for Stanford, is who we thought we were going to play. And Georgia upset Stanford. And,
right.
You know what? Stan Payne threw a great game, and Dave Fleming finished it out, and our bats just went a little bit cold at the wrong time, and, it is what it is.
What have you liked with this team? I know you try to keep up with it. I see you from time to time at O'Brate, and I guess let's back it up. What do you think of O'Brate? I mean, you were smack dab in the middle of Reynolds in the heyday then, but this is something else, isn't it?
It's unbelievable, TD. I mean, I joke that when I came to Alley P, in '89, it was state of the art. I mean, we had a hot tub in the locker room. I'd never seen anything like that. It was spectacular. Mm-hmm. But it was pretty much the same Alley P 30 years later. And so now to see what they've done with O'Brate and the commitment that Mr. O'Brate and the athletic department's made, I mean, I thought the football stadium was spectacular when I got to go down underneath and see what it looked like. The baseball stadium is every bit as nice as that. Mm-hmm. And I've been to some nice college parks. I wouldn't say, it's by far the number one best stadium in the world, but it's definitely in the top 2 or 3. If it's not number 1, it's in the top 3 for sure. It's spectacular.
I can't imagine many places where the student athlete would have all the resources with which to train and get better. You can't. And now that reflects the coaching staff as well, which is off the charts again. I can't imagine somebody would not come here with everything at their disposal.
Well, if they choose not to come to Oklahoma State to play baseball today, it will not be because of the coaches or the facilities. That's for sure.
Right.
Maybe they don't like barbecue. I don't know.
Well, times change, and you enjoy what you have at the time. And you alluded to the hot tub, which I forgot was in that room. That hot tub took up about half of the room because our locker room wasn't very big at that time either. So you had to give some to get some. But what do you think? Well, you follow this team. It has been, I wouldn't say all over the place. I think their offense has been consistent throughout the year. When you cover 56, 57 games, pitching's been somewhat up and down for various reasons, but I think the overall depth has carried them.
Yeah, I think so. I think that in order to make a run where you're a team winning 40 or 50 games, you really have to be able to count on kind of your 1 and 2 pitchers. I mean, you've got to have a lot of confidence that pretty much every time those 2 guys go out there, you're going to get a W, and the third game maybe a little more of a toss-up. The offense has performed, I'd say, fairly well this year, and the pitching staff, had some injuries and some ups and downs, but there's glimpses of, superstardom that, gosh, if they can just put it all together, we get some timely hits like we have been, and you keep 2 or 3 guys healthy through the regionals and into Omaha, and yeah, this team can make a run.
When you start sizing teams up, and I don't know if that's fair because it's different era, different players, and I really try to stay away from that. But there's some trends sometimes that mirror one year and maybe not the next. But this team does have, in my mind, and when you start sizing up where they are and where they would go for a super regional, I mean, they've got the talent to compete with anybody in either one of those fields, either in Tucson or in Oxford.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt about that. I think they can go competing. Well, listen, Vanderbilt's really good, and I don't necessarily want to see Vanderbilt tomorrow. But, minus Vanderbilt and maybe another team, if Justin Campbell goes out and throws like he's capable of, if Parker Scott throws like he's capable of, Cabness is coming around and hitting the ball like everybody wants him to hit the ball, and Encarnacion has been great all year. I mean, if those core 6 or 7 guys just put it all together for the next 2 or 3 weeks, there's no reason this team won't make a run into Omaha.
Not necessarily this team, although Andy Checketts probably has an MO every year he coaches. I don't see this Santa Barbara team as fitting the mold of the Augie Garridos. Get them on, get them over, get them in. Let's score 1 run a game, and hopefully that's the way we're going to win. But how do you see this one? This one seems to be a little bit more offensive minded.
Yeah, I think so. I don't, we don't get a lot of West Coast games out here. I mean, as a kid growing up on the West Coast, I followed Santa Barbara and Fullerton and Fresno's, pretty closely. But the time zones make a difference. You don't get to see a lot of Santa Barbara ball games. But I certainly like the matchup, on our end. I haven't been hearing a lot of things or seeing a lot of things in the highlights that tell me, boy, this Santa Barbara team's going to be a really tough matchup. Mm-hmm. But again, it's one game. And Santa Barbara could be on that day, and we could be off, and anything can happen. But I certainly like our chances.
Yeah, I mean, I may mention that they don't have to be better than us in a 5-game series. For our purposes, they only have to do is be better than us Friday at 3 o'clock. And we know what pitching can do. And they got a couple of guys that on a given day are good, really good. And if they had a real good day and you didn't have a real good day, you wonder how the score was at the end of the day. So it's not something we can just roll out the ball and throw out the gloves and we're going to win it overall. Would you agree, one way or the other, California teams in general, and you're a California guy, surfer dude, I guess, back in the day, right?
Total surfer.
I bet. I bet you did. I bet we could have found you on the beach with that surfer board somewhere along the line in your career. But, the small ball comes to mind, right? You play the UC's this and the UC's that, and they play small ball and try to beat you 3-1, 4-1 with pitching. I don't see this team as such. They score a lot of runs to be a West Coast team.
Yeah, it's I don't know if that's a testament to maybe overall the pitching's just at a little bit lower a level this year and the hitting's at a little bit of an escalated level, or if this is just a really dominant offensive team. But you're right, the West Coast baseball for 50 years has been get them on, bunt them over, sacrifice them home. And they've been known for that. The small ball and probably because Augie was so prevalent. I mean, he was so successful, and he had a very systematic way to do things. And Dave Snow had a systematic way to do things. And I don't remember anything. I mean, maybe going back to like the 70s with USC. I don't remember any sluggers row where they were throwing up 14 or 15 runs a game. It seems like everybody, USC, UCLA, the Fullertons, all the West Coast teams. You're right. Score 3, give up 1. We win most of our games.
When you were coming through the high school ranks in California, was that the personality of even the coaching in high school? I mean, is that what you kind of grew up thinking was baseball? Yeah,
TD, it probably was. Maybe more so because the talent, because there's so many players. There's a million baseball players in Southern California, and there's 100,000 in some other random state. Because there's so many, the talent level's so high that even a really random high school, it tends to have one really good player, and it's usually a pitcher or a power hitter. But there really aren't any. We went over. I'd hate to pick on a small town in Oklahoma, but we went to a little podunk town and we played the little Christian school, and we beat them 29-0. That just didn't happen because there was enough mass of people to play that you pretty much got a good game all the time, and so scoring a run or two may be the best you're going to do on any given day. So I think the mentality was, score a couple and hold them to 1, and they'll see if we can win this thing.
Going back and look at that regional 1990, what great memories. And it's similar to what the kids are going to go through now, even though that was Tempe, this is Tucson, but it was hot, obviously, at that time of year. I think it was 95 or whatever it was every day. At least I knew that when I went out and ran at 8, and it was 95 in the morning. But it just has a similar feel. What do you remember about that team? I was looking at the roster. Man, I forgot some of the players, some of the pitchers that were on that roster in 1990.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I remember what you remember. I remember going out for batting practice the first night we got there, and I don't remember what time it was, but it was dark and the lights were on. Mm-hmm. And it was still 95 degrees. I thought, we're taking batting practice at 8:30 at night, and I'm sweating just walking out here. It was so smoking hot. What I remember about that regional, I remember Arizona State was really favored to win it. I remember them thinking that this was going to be a cakewalk because they're at home. And one thing I learned playing at Oklahoma State was I always liked to travel. I wanted to be on the road as a player, as a student athlete. I thought it was fun to go to other people's places. I didn't really understand the value of hosting the regional. And so, you send us out to Tempe or wherever, Texas. I thought, so what? I like going to a foreign town. But, man, there's an advantage to being in your bed around your people, eating your normal meals, not riding a bus. And so to be able to kind of fight through that, and that's what the Cowboys are going to have to do this year, is enjoy the fact that you're in Tucson. It's a really cool campus, but you're on their territory, and it's time to go to work, and you've got 4 or 5 days to prove that you want to take it to the next week.
Did you ever have any dealings with Arizona when you were being recruited? Did they come after you? Did you make any trips out there? What do we know about this field at Tucson?
No, it's funny. So I did not have any dealings with Arizona. I really wanted to go to Arizona State out of high school. I was a Reggie Jackson fan. That's why I wore number 44, and I really wanted to play at ASU. And they weren't hot on me in high school. They were lukewarm. But I will tell you that I played basketball at the University of Arizona when I was at Pepperdine. And my first road trip, the first college road trip I ever took in my life, was at Arizona. And at the time, they had Steve Kerr was a point guard. They had Sean Elliott. They had 4 or 5 NBA guys, and I'd never seen, 16,000 people. I don't remember, 18,000 people standing up and chanting and stomping until the first basket was made. I was sitting on the bench, obviously, but it was a fantastic sight. I remember their locker room just being the biggest, nicest locker room I'd ever seen in my life. Now, that was 30 years ago, but it sticks in my mind that they had a pretty nice campus and a pretty good commitment to athletics.
Tell me why you left Pepperdine, you went to a JUCO to get here, and you ended up here, but that's still halfway across the country. How'd that all come together?
The short version is I really wanted to sign out of high school. I got drafted by the Twins out of high school,
right,
and really thought I'd just go right to pro ball, and I didn't. When I went to Pepperdine, I went and played basketball and baseball, and I was an All-American as a freshman. And both of my coaches left. My basketball coach, Jim Herrick, took the UCLA job. My baseball coach, Dave Gorey, retired. And so I was at Pepperdine without 2 coaches. And I thought, you know what? I really wanted to sign anyways. I'm gonna go back to junior college for a year, and so I can go right back in the draft. When that happened, and I said, okay, I may not sign after being drafted in the 10th round with the Dodgers, I really wanted to leave California, and I really wanted to play in Omaha. I just wanted to go someplace where the student-athlete life and the commitment to sports and people coming out to watch and yell, I wanted to go experience that. And I thought it would be for 1 year, and I'd be here as a junior and get drafted and leave. And it didn't work out that way. But you know what? I got my degree, and I got to play hoops. I met my wife, and I get to play golf with you once in a while. I mean, I can't complain.
Yeah, that was probably the highlight right there, going out and knocking a little white ball around. That was that's probably why you stayed one more year, I'm sure. Tell me about the family in the time we have left. Kind of bring us up to date on what's going on there.
You know what? Family is really good. We've been out in Edmond now for, almost 15 years. We've been home. My daughter Jordan is a goalkeeper at Texas A&M. She's on the soccer team, which coincidentally happened to eliminate Oklahoma State in the Sweet 16.
Yes, I know.
Of the soccer tournament. They went to PKs, and Jordan actually went in for the PKs, and A&M came out on top 4-3. So she had a nice soccer season. My son will be a senior at high school here in Edmond. He is not athletic, but you know what? He's an Eagle Scout. He's a good kid. And my wife, who of course is a Sooner softball player.
Right.
I will tell you, she is really, really high on her Sooners, and rightly really so. But when she's not, she thinks that Kenny's doing a hell of a job, and she cheers for the Cowgirls, and she's very excited that both the Cowgirls and the Sooners are in Oklahoma City for the World Series. So it's a fun time right now with the Burbank household.
I trust that Mrs. Burbank will be at Hall of Fame Stadium somewhere this week.
I am certain that she will make her way out there. She told me last night we were sitting around, and she goes, you know what? The only bad part about this World Series is we're on the same side of the bracket. And so, if we both win our first game, and I hope we do, then we have to play you. And then when we beat you, I'm going to feel bad. And I said, wait. I mean, you beat us. What if we put you in the loser's bracket? So it's already starting that we're gearing up for Game 2 of the Women's College World Series.
Oh, you like that friendly rivalry in the household. Last thing, we had conversation. You and I have had this before, but we had conversation on the afternoon show, and ironically, it would happen on the day that Burbank's going to be on here. But we got into DHing and pitchers who hit and pitchers who don't hit, and I'm thinking, if Burbank was sitting here right now, he'd be saying, I wanted to hit because I could thump it a little bit.
Man, TD, if I got a chance to hit every day, boy, they'd have to rewind that Drop the Bomb song. I mean, almost every at bat.
Now, come on.
It really would have worn that thing out if I had a chance to hit every day.
That's how good you were in your own mind. Now, let's get back to reality. I don't think they would have had to get a new song, probably. You wouldn't have worn out the tape, but you did have a good bat. And back then, you weren't really, quote, allowed to come to the plate.
No, you know what? I really did like hitting. People that don't they're not close to the game. They're like, hey, why didn't you hit? Didn't you like hitting? Well, heck yeah, I like hitting. Every pitcher likes hitting. But at that level, at Division I level, a Justin Campbell who can hit and pitch is so rare, and it's so hard to be an exceptional pitcher and be able to be an exceptional hitter. There's lots of guys who pitch that also can hit, and I'd like to think that if I could have put the work in, I would have been a great hitter. But and I just, at the time, I was pretty motivated by striking people out or winning ball games or making people look bad missing, and I just didn't put the time in to do it. But I'd like to think I could have. If somebody would have said, hey, do you want to stop pitching and just hit? I probably would have been a heck of a hitter, but I love pitching.
That was obvious, and you're one of these guys. And last thing I'll say is this, and if to me, if you're hurt, you're hurt. But we have so many people now in the major leagues who show up on this IL because of stiffness here and soreness here and this and that. It makes you wonder, if in fact we're in a softer society where all of a sudden it's easier to go sit out 4 or 5 games because this might happen. You're a big investment. Back when you were playing, I don't remember you being a guy that just came off the mound and came out of the lineup easily.
No, I mean, I took it for granted. I really did that. If I could pick my arm up, if I felt like it, if they said, can you throw, I was supposed to throw. I didn't, I think the mentality was completely different. Than my entire persona was built on, was I a good winner? Was I a pitcher that won ball games? And, in 4 years of college, I won 46 games. That's probably not as important anymore. I'm sure it is to some people, but, when you start talking about, this guy throws 99 miles an hour, but wins 2 ball games a year, that would have drove me crazy. I don't care how hard I would have thrown. So, the idea of putting my team in the game and giving us a chance to win every single time I stepped on the mound, and some days I was sore, but I felt like if I stepped on the mound, I gave us a chance to win, and that's all I wanted, was for someone to say, this guy's a winner. I didn't know you weren't supposed to win 10 ball games every year. I just thought, if you're the big guy on the pitching staff, you're supposed to win 10 games every single year. And looking back now, looking at how things have transgressed, that's a bunch of wins, 10 a year. So I was excited to be part of it. It also helps that I had, one of the best college offenses in history at the time. So
yeah, you
put up 14 runs a game, I win a lot.
You're right. You didn't have to worry about winning 4-1, 3-1. I said the last thing. Rapid round, real quick. Burbank on analytics. Burbank on pitch counts. Quickly.
No, terrible on both, man. Just throw the ball, throw strikes, get ahead. I don't want analytics. I don't want pitch. Just throw as long as you can.
You're not worried about how many pitches you threw, and oh my goodness, I only got 10 left before they pull me out. You're not high on that, right?
You know what? And I would even say that Tom Holliday, he kept us on a pretty good string. It wasn't like Dennis Livingston when he'd throw 200 innings in college, or even Pat Hope. But he didn't want us to be over 100 innings, by the time we got to the postseason. And I stayed pretty true to that. But listen, if I could go 9 innings and help the team, TH wanted me to go 9 innings.
Well, that was refreshing back in those days. Hey, we could go on forever. We're not going to do it, I know. But we had so many stories we could tell, some true, some not. But other than that, and only you and I would know the difference between the two, right?
That's exactly right.
The general populace probably wouldn't know which were true, which weren't. But at the same time, we appreciate you joining us. As always, I know you'll be tuned in watching this regional out in Arizona, and probably hearkening back maybe to 1990 a little bit when you were out there and it was hot and all that stuff. But I appreciate you spending time with us, man.
TD, I love it. Anytime you need me, I'll be here. Go Pokes.
All right. Good deal. That is Dennis Burbank.